Hi everybody, this is Donnaleigh, and I have this isn't a how-to tutorial today. What I would like to do is give you a kind of a memory trick technique so that you can remember all 36 cards of the Lenormand deck right off the top of your head. So I will be able to say 7 and you can say snake, and I could say anchor and you can say 35, and you can mix them up, do them fast, and it'll help your grand tableau flow. One thing I learned is that when I started doing the grand tableaus is I really regretted that I didn't know by heart those numbers. It kind of slowed me down a little bit finding the houses. So what I decided the other night is, I'm going to put to use some techniques I learned in college. I applied some techniques that I learned from a book called The Memory Book by Harry Lorraine. It's a classic from, I think, the 1970s. And it got me through college. It helped me remember these long lists of things. And I decided, I'm going to put this to use for this deck. So I gave myself a goal that I would be able to, in 2 or 3 weeks, know all 36 cards by heart, the number and the name. Turns out when I actually used the technique, it took me about a little over an hour. So I surprised myself, and I think I can do this for you guys too. So what I'm going to do is just share what I did with myself. You can alter the technique for you. It's perfectly okay to change it a little bit if you think it helps you remember a little bit better. My goal is just to help you remember, and I hope this does help you. Another thing I'm going to do is divide this up into several different videos, small, little bitty ones, so that you can learn one row at a time. Go back, quiz yourself, make sure you got it, go to the second row of cards until you get all 36. And I'm hoping by taking small nibbles like that, you'll feel a little less intimidated. And I think step by step, that's what helped me. As I said, all right, I'm going to learn 1 through 7, I'm going to learn whatever. So let's do it together, and you'll find that there are some silly things that I'll do, but because they're silly or stupid sounding, those are the ones you're going to remember. So here we go. Let's play together. Okay, so here are the supplies that you will need. You will need a piece of paper or a small notebook. I just had a notebook on hand, something for you to write down things. This is me practicing my drills here. So just a piece of paper or a notebook. Of course, with that, you're going to need your favorite pen or pencil, and either paper that you can cut. I use index cards, which I then cut in half into smaller pieces, just with a pair of scissors, so that they were smaller. You can use the whole card if you want, but you don't need to. So with scissors, a big pen for the index cards. If you want, you'll probably want some kind of instruction booklet that goes with one of your Lenormand cards decks that just gives you the numbers and what the cards are, or you can use your actual deck to go by, but it's nice this is quick and in order. And the other thing, and most important of all, is chocolate. Don't forget your chocolate. Chocolate is good for the memory, actually, and that's the truth. So before every lesson, I require all my students have a piece of chocolate. So here you go. Okay, so for our first lesson, before I get into teaching you different rows, each class or little lesson that I'm going to give you is going to have you memorize one row, one row, one row. So we'll do it in little brief stints, but there's one you have to do first, and here's what you got to do. I want you to memorize the first and second card, so rider and clover, and the last 2 cards, anchor and cross. I'll give you a little tip here on how you can do that. Also, the 3 people cards, the man, the woman, and the child. And here's how we can do that together. These 3, once after we're done these 3, we're going to do the rest of them in order, and there's a method to my madness. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to grab your pen and your paper, whatever you're using. You need to do this with me, because if you're not participating in this, it won't sink in quite as well. So 1 is the starting gate, and that's our rider, and he takes off. So he's kind of like, he's the horse leaving the gate. So if you think of 1 rider and the horse, the man is riding the horse leaving the gate. 1 is our start. Okay, so rider is our start. 2 is clover, and the clover here has 2 little thistles coming out of it. Some of them show actually 2 4-leaf clovers like this. If you can imagine that in your head, or you can think of the actual clovers, how they have 2 things on the tips of each leaf, or if you think that they're double, so you've got 2 leaves and then 2 leaves, whatever you want to think that helps you remember the number 2, 2, 2, 2, clover and 2. So starting gate and then doubles. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing with those 2. Man and woman, I want you to just remember the 28 and 29. You may have to drill those a few times. If you're not sure how to remember 28 and 29, now this is how weird my meanings are going to get. Children must leave the room. 28, 29. The difference is the 8 and 9. If you think of 8 on its side, you've got testicles. 2 round things. You think of 9, what you've got is a woman who's heavier on top. Perhaps her bosom is up top, and that's our 29. So if you ever wonder, like, which is 28, which is the man, which is the woman, just take a look at that last number and see if that doesn't help you in your studies. 13 is the child. And if you think of age 13, that's kind of like the first teenage year. If you want to think of that as a child, making you think of a child, but 13 is the other one you want to remember. Lastly, 35 and 36. So the cross, if you think of the end, it's just kind of like X marks the spot. The cross end, 36, and whatever you want to do for 35. For me, I just remembered it because I'd seen it so many times on the grand tableau as next to last. You may have other ways of remembering that, but these are the ones that I want you to just get started with. After that, I'm going to have memory triggers for each one, and we're going to go around these cards. So see if you can remember. Here's the way you can quiz yourself. So now what you're going to do is take all the index cards, and you're going to write the numbers you're supposed to study. So we needed to know the anchor, which is 35, and you put anchor on the back. All right, 28, put man on the back. 13 is our child, and 36, 29 is our woman. Of course, we've got Rider and Clover. And what I want you to do is take all those cards, so you should have 2, 4, 6, 7 cards. I want you to just shuffle them up, and I want you to see just by looking at the number, there's 28. Can you remember which one that is? Can you remember if it's the man or the woman? And how? And here's 13. So what would 13 be? I just want you to go through the cards. Where's that? If you've got number 2, what would you think of? I want you to just have these visions in your head, and I want you to work on these cards, and then I'll get on the rest of the system with you, but don't go to the next one. What I would do is write in your book the cards that you're studying, so write numbers down on the left, and then see if you can fill in the words on the right. Then do the opposite. Take the words and then see if you can put the numbers next to them. So the ones that you're studying, first put down the numbers, see if you can write down, then I want you to put down the titles, like a cross and anchor, see if you can figure them out. Do it back and forth and use your flashcards, and don't forget the chocolate. Good luck.
Okay, so now I'm going to quiz you, and I want you to do this to yourself as well. So, number 1, can you remember what that is? If you guess the rider, you are getting a piece of chocolate. Number 28, do you remember? That's your gentleman. Number 13, child. Can you remember number 2? You guessed Clover. You are correct. 35. That's when we didn't do as much, so you might have to think about that for a minute. Anchor. Make sure you have that one before you move on to your next step. 36. Last card. Cross. Number 29. That's our woman. Okay, now I'm going to test you in reverse. So I'm going to mix up the cards, and I want you to tell me what number is Clover. Number 2. Now you need to tell me anchor. 35. Now you need to tell me which number is woman. 29. Cross. What number is the man?
rider? And which is the child? Now your job is to go in your notebook and write down the numbers, see how fast you can put down the names, do the opposite, mix them up, see if you can put down the names, that's how fast you can do the numbers, shuffle them up, and see how quickly you can go. Once you get it down pat, go to video 2.